Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Saadatu. You're welcome to Saadatu's Daily. If you people know me well, you know I hardly talk about students. I don't talk about students in my channel, student visa, student permit and all that. I don't talk about it because somehow I see the process as quite complicated, so I kind of deliberately divert myself from it. I don't talk about it, but this one has come it's very important to update people to know, because I know a lot of people have plans for the next academic session, April, September. A lot of people have plans to relocate to the country on student permit. So I'm bringing this out to my audience to get to know the latest updates that has happened. So the Immigration Minister, Mark Miller, announced today that there's going to be 3 major changes in the student permit process in the country. So now this is as a result of a lot of things, not just because they want to stop it as a pathway for people to migrate into the country. No, so there are a lot of reasons that have happened. So first of all, we have reasons of high tuition fee, where institutions are taking advantage of students, charging very, very high tuition fees to international students. We have cases of where some provinces have higher population of students compared to the others. So we have more institutions of learning in some provinces compared to the others, but the population is not evenly distributed. So places like Ontario, BC, Nova Scotia, when you hear a student coming in as an international student, most of them are going into Ontario, most of them are going into BC, most of them are going to Nova Scotia, Vancouver and all that. So it is not evenly distributed, thereby causing housing crisis in such places. If you people know, you know that if you people are later, you will get to know that housing is even though generally in Canada housing is very, very difficult, it's very, very hard to get housing, but in those particular places it's even more difficult. So you see a place where you're paying 1,400 as rent in a place like Manitoba. When you go to a place like BC or Ontario, you may be paying as much as 3,000 for that particular house. And those are houses being rented by students, people that are coming to the country, paying tuition fee, working part-time jobs and all that. They are paying such high fees. So the population is very, very high in such places. Then the quality of education is reducing. It is not a standard, because the Canadian education system has a standard. So they assess it and see that it is really coming down, because students come in, the institution bring a lot of students, they admit more students than they are supposed to have, thereby having lectures on sanitary environment, like in theaters, in places that are not even supposed to be lecture halls. You see a lot of complaint by students online and all that. So those are part of the reasons. Then we have abandonment of programs for some people that come into the country, not really facing the studies they came in, because they have to pay the bills, they have to pay their tuition fees. So you see them working even more than they're studying, doing Uber, doing different jobs just to be able to meet up with payment of their bills. Even though everybody knows this is the pathway, people come in as students, not necessarily because they want to study, but because of the smooth pathway laid down by IRCC, being a student, after being a student, getting your work permit, after that now getting a permanent residency. Everybody knows about that, but that is not really the reason why the Immigration Minister is cutting down on all this, bringing them all these changes. This is not the reason.
It's unacceptable that some private institutions have taken advantage of international students by operating under-resourced campuses, lacking supports for students, and charging high tuition fees, all the while significantly increasing their intake of international students.
These 3 major updates are like part of series of measures put down by the Immigration Minister. It's part of it. Is like a 2-year plan, 2-year temporary plan they're just starting it to see how it's going to work out, and the result of the 2024 assessment is going to determine what happens going forward in 2025. I'm going to be talking about the 3 major changes by the Immigration Minister. So after I discuss the first point, I'm going to play the video for you guys to hear from the horse's mouth to understand better from him. Then I'll come back and talk about the second point, and then you listen to the video of what I discussed as the second point. Then that's how we'll do the video going forward. So now the first major update is that this is a 2-year temporary plan whereby the number of study permits that will be authorized into the country is going to be reduced by 35%. 35% of what came in last year is going to be reduced. So now the target is that 364,000 study permits to be approved in 2024. It's going to be fairly distributed among different provinces. It's not just going to be a total reduction, but they're going to, the ones that are approved they'll make sure it is according to the population of the different provinces, so that you don't have them all clustered in one particular place. Because come to think of it, some designated learning institutions in other provinces will not benefit the way the ones in places like Ontario, BC are overpopulated, so it's going to be spread around. So this particular reduction does not apply to students coming in for masters, for doctorate degrees, or those coming for professional courses. So professional courses over here are the medicine, and those coming for law, medicine and law. Those ones are not going to be affected by the court. The ones that are going to be affected by the court are like those coming into colleges or for undergraduate programs. So that is what will be affected. So that is the first major update. So let's listen to the minister to hear what he has to say about this first point.
Today, I am announcing 3 principal measures. 1, a temporary 2-year cap on new international student permits. It is the latest in a series of measures to improve program integrity and set international students up for the success in order to maintain a sustainable level of temporary residence in Canada as well. To ensure that there is no further growth in the number of international students in Canada for 2024, we are setting a national application intake cap for a period of 2 years. For 2024, the cap is expected to result in approximately 364,000 approved study permits, a decrease of 35% from 2023. In the spirit of fairness, we are also allocating the cap space by province based on population, such as that some provinces will see much more significant reductions. We'll continue to work closely with those provinces and territories to put these measures into place, as they will be responsible for determining how the cap is distributed between its designated learning institutions that they have jurisdiction over. I've had productive conversations, in particular with British Columbia and Ontario already, and we all recognize that more needs to be done to protect the integrity of our system while supporting international students.
So the second major update is that going forward, with immediate effects, any study permit must be accompanied by a provincial attestation. What does this mean? So if you're submitting your study permit application, it has to come with an attestation from the particular province where your school is situated, an attestation from them saying, yes, okay, this is accepted, this person is going to be, this person is like attesting that yes, person is coming to this particular province, thereby monitoring and knowing where students are going to be coming, which province are they going to be. They're going to use it to monitor the students per province. So going forward, your application is going to be accompanied by a provincial attestation. This is a very new thing. It has never happened before. So for the provincial attestation, more updates will be coming for you to know how you'll be able to get the attestation. It's quite new, so we don't know yet, but I'm very sure as soon as it comes out, I'm going to be letting you guys know. So that's the second major update. So let's listen to the minister give us an update on that.
In addition, effective immediately, applicants must provide a provincial attestation with their study permit application. At the same time, the cap will not apply to students in graduate levels of studies, including master's and doctoral students. Those are the people we're looking for. Study permit applications at the elementary and secondary school levels will also be exempt.
The third and last update has to do with work permit for the spouse. So if you still intend to come to the country on study permit, if you're coming in as a master's student or a doctorate student, or you're coming for one of the professional courses, which is medicine or law, then your spouse is eligible to have an open work permit. Meaning, if you come into the country, you can come in with your spouse, and your spouse will have an open work permit to do the job, to work while you study. But if you're coming in for undergraduate program or you're coming into a college, then your spouse is not eligible. That is also new, because even coming into college, coming as an undergraduate student, if you're married, your spouse can come in as on work permit to work. But this time around, it has been cut off. No, the spouse, if you're going to be an undergraduate or college, as long as you're not a master's student and above, then you're not eligible to have your husband come in as a work permit, meaning you just come do your studies and go, or you remain to do the pathway, to do maybe after your studies, maybe you stay back to get a work permit to do the job. After you complete the requirements, then you can apply for a permanent residency. In that way, your spouse and family is going to be back home while you are here in Canada doing your schooling and the job and everything. So that is a major update. So this does not apply to people that are already in the country. It doesn't apply to students that are already here. It's going to be on a going forward basis. I think in the next academic session applies to them. And as I said, the result of the assessment for 2024 is going to determine the number of study permit that will be approved in 2025. As I said, this is a test run. This is the first time this is happening. So this is a 2-year period where this is going to be assessed and used going forward. So let's listen to the immigration minister talk about this.
Thirdly, in the coming weeks, we'll be announcing that open work permits will only be allowed and be available to spouses of international students enrolled in master's and doctoral programs, as well as professional programs such as medicine and law. Spouses of international students enrolled in other levels of study, including undergraduate and college programs, will no longer be eligible. To be clear, the cap will not apply to applicants within Canada looking to extend their studies, as it wouldn't be fair to prevent someone from finishing the program, nor will the cap have an effect on study permit holders currently in Canada. These temporary measures will be in place for 2 years, and the number of new study permit applications that will be accepted in 2025 will be reassessed at the end of this year. To be absolutely clear, these measures are not against individual international students. They are to ensure that as future students arrive in Canada, they receive the quality of education that they signed up for and the hope that they were provided in their home countries. It would be a disservice to welcome international students in Canada knowing not all of them are getting the resources they need to succeed in Canada, and having them return home disillusioned and disappointed in Canada's education system. Allowing bad actors to continue their operations would be a disservice to all the good institutions who pride themselves in providing a top-tier academic experience. Thank you. Looking forward to the
Can you clarify, Minister?
Yeah, so I hope you've had it all from the immigration minister. And the next one you're going to be watching is question and answers from journalists to get better understanding of how this is going to apply, what is going to happen going forward and all that. So please stay back and watch the other part of the video. So for anybody wanting to come in as a student, then you must be ready to say, okay, one part you must determine which of the spouse will come into the country to be able to do the studies, to be able to stay back, get the work permit, to do the permanent residency. If it is the woman that you feel should come in as a student, fine. If it is the man, you also determine. So gone are the days whereby you say, okay, the wife should go, then the husband will come with the children later, especially if you're coming as undergraduate students, Alright, thank you very much for watching this video. Please do well to like this video and subscribe and share to anybody you know that has been dreaming to come into Canada as a student. Bye.
Will we see, so right now we have over 1 million foreign students. Are the measures you are unveiling today, does that mean there will be less students as of September, or is it that the increase will be slower? And how many students will we see by the end of this year in Canada?
So you asked sort of three things, Marika. Permits are issued on a 3-year basis. So the 1 million number is the number of permits that have been issued over a 3-year period. Those people that are getting out of the 3-year programs will be reflected in, it'll be a reflection of a decrease, a 35% decrease compared to those people that are graduating from these programs. So the net intake will show that decrease of 35%. There's some room there to work with some of the provinces to make sure that they are actually decreasing. But what the cap actually does is twofold. It's a national cap, but it's spread out according by population by province. So some provinces will actually have some room to go up if they so choose, but the provinces that have been most heavily affected will have to decrease by about 50 and perhaps even more than 50% when it comes to new incoming people.